Dude, did you see our interview? It's fucking popping off.
Yeah, I just saw it on Reddit.
I forgot that TSM fan made fun of me. Motherfucker.
I know, it was a bit BM like.
Fuck him. Like, I'm responsible for 2 trophies, and TSM wouldn't have Lustboy and Parse if not for me. TSM today would look so fucking different. I'm not saying they wouldn't be successful, but they would be definitely not as successful, and the staff would be different without me. Like, what the fuck? Why aren't they grateful? Everything I provided.
Because that's the problem with TSM fans, mate. Is that the problem is? It's actually the problem with like Nutter fans in any fan base, but the reason why TSM fans, because there's so many of them, it becomes obvious, is like, I'd understand if they were a fan of the team because it's really good.
Yeah.
But it's like they're just a fan of the team anyway, and then they just always find a way to decide that they're good. So in their mind, you have to realize, they think, I'm not joking, they genuinely, I think, believe that TSM would have been in every final anyway. You know, it didn't even matter what players played for them, what coach. Like, they think like we're TSM. Like, if you ever see fans of like a winning team, they always have ridiculous expectations. Right, this is going to be episode 64 of Listen Loco. It's just a 2-man episode again, which, to be fair, some people like. I told you, I actually said this to you. We should do more some of them more often anyway. Especially like, actually, this is a good example of an episode where what we're really going to do is just update our thoughts on LCS. So it's a 2-man episode. But before we start, a couple of details. Depending where you are listening to this right now, if you're listening to it on Twitch, obviously it's live. There will be a VOD later on YouTube. But if you want actually to hear it just as an audio podcast, obviously people want to listen to it at the gym or in the car or at school or whatever, you can now get it on iTunes and Spotify and all the other places that people get fucking podcasts. I don't know. So, or if you're listening to it on iTunes and Spotify, you can also watch it as a video if you want. If you actually want to see what our reactions are, if you want to see Locodoco hug his legs, whip his hair back and forth, and or talking to a microphone next to a microphone, and go to YouTube or Twitch for that. I mean, there's no point going to Twitch now. Go when the next episode's live, obviously. So go to YouTube otherwise. And then the one extra thing to add is that we've added a Patreon for this particular show. So the premise is you go there. I'm sure you know what a Patreon is. It's a way to support content creators you enjoy. And the key thing is, depending on what tier you decide to come at, so it could be $1, which is cool. You just help them support us. It could be $10, whatever it might be. Well, each of the tiers gives its own little benefit. Like, you get something out of it. So you remember what the actual tiers are, Loco? I don't. So can you just give us basic summary? Like, what are the rough tiers of what people can get?
So iron, bronze, silver, these are like $1, $5, $10 tiers. We'll do a post-credit starting next episode where we'll list out your names on screen. If you're in the higher tiers, like silver and gold, where we'll shout your name out. Like, if you are donating at those tiers, we'll shout your name out. Like, we'll read your name out, we'll give you a shout out. And if you get higher than that, you can actually suggest topics, ask questions on the show. And if you get to the highest tier, I think it's $200 once a month, we will personally phone call you and we'll have a small conversation.
Oh, and by the way, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Nobody is obliged to do anything they don't want to do. If you don't have money, if you're someone who's just a poor student or something, you just do you. If you're someone who has money and you want to support the show, great. Pick whatever tier you think is cool. And actually, that's why I purposely highlight what you get from it. Just pick the one that has the thing that you want. Like, if you have some money to splash, if you're a baller and you want to do that, you want us to call you, go for it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Pick out whatever tier you want, including no tier, if you indeed want.
Enjoy the free content.
Right. So anyway, so we'll start this episode off. So first of all, I will say at the beginning of it, unlike a lot of the episodes we do, I haven't watched all the LCS games, but I did try to watch a couple of the highlights for the ones I missed. And I was actually at the LCS and I watched some of the games live, but obviously, to be fair, like, it's actually not that great a way to watch the games at the actual venue, because obviously people are talking to you and stuff. I actually prefer to just watch the VOD myself. But anyway, let's start out there.
Let's start with that. Why were you and Monty at LCS? What the fuck are you guys doing here? You guys aren't welcome here.
I'm pretty sure I am, but no, the only irony is actually I probably wouldn't be able to get in if it wasn't for other people. No, what happened was I was invited to this esports conference that is in Irvine, which you might have heard me and Loco reference, because me and him are going to be on a panel about esports journalism there, along with Monte Cristo and Richard Lewis, actually. And actually, that's interesting theme, because since I knew I was coming on that panel, well, I actually didn't know the panel yet. I knew I was doing a solo talk about esports journalism. I thought, well, why not use the opportunity to go and visit some people? So first of all, I went to Las Vegas, which is where Richard Lewis lives. Saw him for a few days. Obviously, he'll be on that panel in like 1 day from now. Then I came to LA just to see Monty for a couple of days. And then what happened was, the first day we had free, we were just like, what do you want to do? And then since obviously Susie works with Cloud9 and London Spitfire, she was like, you could just come to LCS if you want. So
I live in LA also, right? You didn't come to visit me. I live in LA here, dude.
Here's what you don't realize. That's actually one of the tough things about esports now is like I know so many people, and obviously like LA is a spot where most people live, like so many CS people, Overwatch people, League of Legends. The problem is since I knew I could only come for a few days, well, if I just went and met all of you guys, I'd never meet anyone here, would I? So there'll be another trip in the future where I do the social thing. This time I had to go low-key. Now, obviously, I agree. It doesn't work to go low-key if you then go to the LCS and puzzle and pitch yourself.
Yes.
That's where the plan fell apart. But
wait, so you were not going to say you were in LA to me? Like, you, me, and Monty are chill. Like, wow.
You would have seen me at that conference. You knew I was coming.
I'm shocked. I'm honestly fucking shocked. I'm one of the person you spend the most time with. Even online. I'm one of your, like, closer friends. Like, we spend so much...
I might have done it. Like, did I not literally invite you to a dinner?
Yes, you did, but like, you didn't invite me. You didn't let me know you're coming to LA.
I'm like the guy who had the VIP access. I got you in the club, even though the bouncer was like, I don't know about this ID. And I was like, nah, he's with me. It's like, oh, he's with Thorin? Fucking hell yeah. Let you in the club. Exactly.
Oh my.
I mended all those fences for you. Okay. I even made them believe, I had to lie to them, that you're a good guy. You know, mended a lot of fences. No, thing is, we've all changed over the years. So anyway, point is, I did go to the LCS. I actually have to say, when I look back now, I should have actually just planned to do that because it actually was a very pleasant experience. Because one thing I forgot was, obviously, when you go, I mean, to be fair, you have to have backstage access to do this, but you can meet all the players. And I forgot how many players there was I knew that I obviously haven't seen in years and years and years. So that actually was pretty cool. And also, I thought it was a pretty cool environment all in all, behind the scenes, you know, people were pretty chill. It wasn't too much drama or anything. Nobody from Riot got mad.
Who would? I mean, I don't think anyone would have started drama at LCS, and usually like esports people are more online. Yeah.
Like the easiest way would just be deny you entry, wouldn't you? So there wouldn't even be any drama in that sense. Plus, people don't realize this. Like everyone always spins it like, do you think Riot will be mad at you? Why the fuck would I care? It's the other way around. I should be mad at Riot. Like more like they don't want to see me at LCS. That would be a good time for them. Would actually, because to be fair, I'd just say something and then banter and then just walk off, and that would just stand there arguing with some idiot who should have no actual power in the real world. Anyway. Let's start in this episode. So, by the way, just to clarify, for anyone who wasn't watching in the off-season episodes, in the last episode, the one with Dodo, the Team Liquid coach, me and Loco made a bet that at the end of the split, not the playoffs, just at the end of the regular split, similar to how we did the Golden Guardians one, we had to pick who the winner would be. I picked Team Liquid, reigning champions. Loco picked TSM, team that almost won the title. And then the bet is like, we'll go into the details later, but basically one of us has to make a video again, and then it's about a certain topic. And the idea is it'll be a mixture of funny and like, you know, hopefully actually a good video. So just keep track of that as we go. I mean, it's pretty much where we're aligned anyway on these shows.
Our allegiances.
So it doesn't change that much, does it?
Thorin's a bandwagon fan. I've been a loyal TSM fan for many years.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is actually the only reason I had that Cloud9 shirt on is because since I was coming with someone who works for Cloud9, it's a bit BM to only have a Team Liquid jersey, isn't it? So, and by the way, what people do not know, I don't know why people don't realize this. I guess it's because I've flamed NA too many times. People think I just hate NA teams. I was a massive fan of that team with the original Cloud9 with High and Sneaky and Meters. I thought that was a fucking great team because to me, it's funny because at the time, everyone used to rave about them all individually because they were all top of solo queue, etc. I always thought the best thing about that team was that they didn't have all the superstar players. They just had amazing coordination and they had a super sick team play, great shot call, and one of my favorite teams ever. So I have no problem whatsoever wearing a Cloud9 shirt. Obviously, a great team historically, even a good team now, actually. Still, actually, to be fair, one of my favorite teams to watch. So let's talk about the LCS then. So we started, like is tradition, where you do the rematch of the final last time. So we can actually do the whole Team Liquid TSM thing initially right now. So what did you think of this game, Loco? I feel like even just the draft must have triggered you.
Draft was so fucking bad. TSM picking Azir and then picking Ezreal was just so bad. They had so many losing lanes, and the only avenue they could win the game is through Sejuani Irelia. And yeah, they weren't able to do it. And Acadian was definitely a worse jungler compared to Xmeti. So I just did a VOD review on stream of that, and it was so fucking tilting because the whole time it's TSM bleeding out, and the only shot they have is top lane, and they're not able to utilize it at all.
Ignore that. Obviously, I can't help if someone rings a fucking doorbell, can I? But don't worry about that. Right, wait there a sec. I'm just actually trying to check what the pick ban order was for that, because I have a comment to make, but I don't want to speak out of turn on, so I'm just going to quickly check what it was.
They first picked Sylas, and they reply with Irelia Galio, and then TL replied Zaya Rakan.
Right, so here's the key detail of this draft. For people who didn't miss it, right? So the second I saw this draft, obviously my first thought in my head was like, wait a minute, I've literally just had a podcast where it was the one that we had with Caps and then Perks, where one of the topics was like, why did you guys do that draft where you basically let them have Silas, super strong solo lane pick, and then pick Desir into it? And then obviously that was the funny story, was Caps's version was like, oh, we just didn't think through to what reply to pick. But then the funny angle was like Perks, who obviously is like a captain of the team, is, you know, and has a very, by the way, has a very underrated actual like knowledge of macro and stuff in the game and like other elements of coaching. He basically said like, oh no, we always knew we were going to pick Azir. Like that's the thing you'd pick. Well, the weird thing is obviously that game went terribly, and generally Azir picks were criticized throughout Worlds. Like even Faker playing Azir was pretty much criticized quite often. So the bizarre thing is, in this pick ban, as Loco says, they did first pick Silas, and that means that TSM willingly last picked Azir into Silas. So they basically, if they saw that G2 SKT game, they were like, no, that's a great draft. We want that. So what do you think they were thinking of in this context? Because it looks like they thought they were going to do the scaling draft, right, and win late game.
I have a little bit more information, but the general gist of it is the strength of Irelia is she can go mid, right? So Bjergsen's notoriously dangerous Irelia player, especially combined with Sejuani. So I think they were trying to do Irelia mid and a different pick top, and they either ran out of top picks or they thought the Azir pick was good into Silas. It's one or the other, but both are kind of shitty. You either ran out of picks or you think the Azir pick is good.
Plus, like I say, I alluded to it there, probably the most tilting part of this game is, if you remember last split, they were reversed. Team Liquid was the team that would pick for the scaling and for the late game. The TSM would try and get action going early, try and get ganks going, pressure, obviously play through solo lanes. I don't know what the concept was for this game. Like, why would they take this approach?
I have no idea. I also really hate TSM's preference for Ezreal. I think last split it was fine, but this split, like, Zben's actually hurting them a lot in terms of draft. When I think Zben, I think two core champions. I think Ezreal and Kalista, and both of them aren't the greatest in the meta right now. I really want to see him lean more into Xayah, lean more into Kai'Sa, lean more into Varus. Those three picks are incredibly important.
Because the other thing that tilted me about this, it applies to this game, but it'll definitely apply when we talk about some of the other teams, is, man, it looks like none of the NA teams even watched MSI.
Yeah.
Like, if I watched MSI, the messages I would be taken away. I mean, I even told this to some of the coaches who were friends of mine jokingly. It's like, if I watched MSI and I was any team that has strong solo laners, I would be drafting super strong solo lane picks, and I would just be playing early, of course. Like, that's what MSI showed you was really effective. These teams look as though MSI never happened. Like, if anything, they're going even more towards these team fight comps. Like, look at some of the picks we saw here.
Yeah. I have no idea. Like, I think NA internally developed its own meta within the last 2 weeks of team scrimming, and I understand we don't have the strongest solo laners or the best understanding of 1-3-1, but we learned this lesson every single fucking year at an international, and we go right back to it. So yeah, it's great. I don't know. At what point does it stop? At what point are we like, yeah, we're being fucking dumb, guys?
I have a take on this. It's not a super nuanced one, but it goes like this, which is, if you ever ask a team, why did you do an unusual pick, or why did you pick a comp that, you know, just makes sense as an outsider? Normally, I mean, this is the problem, right? It's easy to roast people, but actually most times people have a logic behind it. And usually if you knew their story, it might even make sense, even if to you would disagree. Like, for example, they'd say, you know, oh, we can play through, I don't know, Deftly and Golden Guardians. I would disagree with that, but at least if I know that's the thought going in, I can sort of see why they did a pick, right? So in this particular setting, I've got to say, I feel like these NA teams, the problem they have, it's not that you're not supposed to value scrims, but I think that they're valuing scrim wins too much, because I've seen too many of these only in NA local, where, first of all, they won't do the things that seem to be very strong, which implies that, you know, we tried it a few times and scrims didn't go well. And then even worse, they'll get some wacky pick like this and they'll be like, but in scrims, it was going great. It's like, scrims aren't a real match, remember? Like, even the way you play out a scrim, you're not really playing it. You can't make yourself really have the mindset of a real game. So to me, I get it. If you really can't make something work at all in a scrim, I mean, just functionally, not whether you win the scrim or not. Sure, it's going to be hard to go with that in the game. You're going to feel uncomfortable. But I find it really hard to believe some of the teams in NA, because actually in NA at the moment, I would actually say generally the bot lanes aren't that great. So I would have thought tons of these teams would be, I mean, what's funny is some of them even did the right picks. They still don't play to the side lanes though.
It's
you know, you saw a lot of like good, strong solo picks, but they were still just team fighting all day.
Let's call it NA charm. It's what's charming about our region.
It is in a way, you know. It's like when some kid does a shitty drawing for you and you're like, well, that goes on the fridge. There you go.
It's more like when you have a friend, like you go to college and then you come back to your hometown and then your friend is still working at fucking McDonald's. I'm like, holy fuck, this was chill when you were in high school, like working at McDonald's and like having a motorcycle. You were like the cool guy that had a job and that had a motorcycle. Now it's just like sad. Like, shouldn't you change? Like, shouldn't you grow up?
Here's my analogy. Are you ready? So NA is, like I said, it's the little 4-year-old kid where you're like, what have you done there? Oh, is that granddad? And you go, fucking hell, is it granddad? Oh, it is. Yeah. Oh, it looks just like him. And then you put it on the fridge, right? Because you're just happy he could do anything. You know, before he was just playing his own shit and annoying the dog, wasn't he? Then EU is like some like a talented draftsman, but he doesn't put in the full like effort. He doesn't put in hours and hours. He just does like a quick sketch, but it's pretty good, you know. China, quite similar, a bit more scruffy, but maybe like better pen or something, a bit more permanent. Korea is like they're trying to do a full landscape painting. They sketch it out first. They're trying to do it. The problem is, in the modern meta, you only have 10 minutes to do your drawing. So they're going like, fuck, I've got time, fuck. You know, China's sort of like, EU's like, nice little sketch. And then NA is just like, oh, why is the guy bigger than the house? Shut up, you're going to discourage him. Oh, well done. I like the house part. That's like the analogy for you.
Well, NA's giving crayons, and then we're competing with people with like nice pencils and pens.
Okay. You say that, but I think Steve has bought some of the best fucking pens and pencils. He's got like a protractor, compass, everything. The problem is they just keep using the crayons. You're right, Loco. They're like, we can win with the crayons. We keep winning the best picture in the show. It's like, yeah, just because you draw the guy the same size as the house, but that isn't enough. Draw the fucking sketch. Like, anyway, that analogy is getting way too drawn out. I don't think we should continue.
I think we should go on with it. Some of the teams are finger painting in NA, and then you have like Optic and 100 Thieves. Actually, Optic's doing fine. You have like Clutch and 100 Thieves. They're eating the paint and they're eating the glue.
I think Clutch bought a load of paints and stuff. They just haven't used any of them. And they have this one paint that used to be amazing years ago that they don't even use now. They just leave it on the shelf. Just go, fuck that paint.
All right. Let's move on.
Ironically, now that he's actually speaking English. Now he's speaking English, actually. He's probably had that problem that Forgiven always had. I used to tell Forgiven years ago, he got an offer, right, to go to China. And I told him, that's the perfect region. They won't know what you're saying. They'll just play. Piglet's got the opposite problem. Now that he can speak English, they've all realised, like, oh, yeah, definitely don't want to play this piece of shit. Get him out now. And they're like, bring anyone in. What about Cody's son? That's harsh, but do it anyway. So, okay, let's transition a bit then. What do you think? Because obviously Team Liquid, then after looking good in that first game, I mean, looked pretty much perfect when they played against TSM, they obviously then managed to, I hate to use the term throw generally, Loco. You notice I don't try to do that because it's too cheap to say it. Like, people use it too much anyway. But this game looked like something of a throw against Echo Fox.
Oh.
I mean, this was a game where, like, I actually couldn't believe it because this is one of the ones I watched the VOD for later. And I kept watching the VOD thinking, have I got the wrong VOD? I thought they lose this game. It's like they were ahead so much early. They had a massive gold lead. Doublelift at one point had like 1.5k more gold than the other fucking AD carry. Like, everything was looking good. How did they lose this game?
They fucking, oh my god, I have no idea because like Fox was fucking inting it early game. They were literally fucking inting. Like some of the ganks that Rush was doing and Hakuo was doing, they were inting, and then TL had that one bottom throw. The key thing is versus Kai'Sa, if you give Kai'Sa kills and if you give Kai'Sa an opportunity to get into the game, Kai'Sa will fucking go off. And they gave Kai'Sa a way into the game, and Lost is a pretty decent Kai'Sa player.
Oh, there was a couple of things I wanted to bring up about this game as well. Like, first of all, I actually saw an interesting discussion about like itemization on Reddit that I wanted to ask you about. So obviously, one of the big game-changing aspects of this match for Echo Fox was that they had Skarner. Rush was playing it. Is that super loud, by the way? That's out.
Are you guys doing construction?
Some guy is. I'm not doing it, obviously. Okay. Should I try moving somewhere else?
Yeah, sure. Give it a try.
Go. Right, there we go. I'm sat in bed.
Okay.
This is a new intimate. If you're a top Patreon donator, then we do shows from our bed and send lewds as well. No, so anyway, can you remember what I was talking about?
We were talking about TL, and you were asking me about itemization.
Oh, that's right. Because obviously, one of the interesting parts, like one of the ways that Echo Fox started to get back in this game was that Smithy came to do, tried to come and get the blue, basically, and Rush managed, because Smithy unfortunately fought him on the Spire, Rush managed to do like a little outplay, get the kill on him, and then because Skarner had kills, Team Liquid started building all the QSSs, right? This is the question I have for you, because I saw an interesting discussion. I thought people made good points on both sides. So the problem with that sort of move, right, is in League, actually, people still tend to itemize individually. You know, you don't call necessarily like, oh, I'm going to build this item. You just sort of build whatever you want. And the question is this: when you have a gold lead like they did, but it was only a gold lead. Remember, it wasn't like they were so far ahead, for example, they had to give up dragons, right? So they obviously couldn't necessarily take every fight. When you have a gold lead that they do you think it's a mistake to build too many QSSs? Because if everyone takes it, it can only be one Skarner. So I know you're gambling, but, you know, to me, I kind of went down on the side of like, you should probably only build it on like key people. Somebody just has to gamble not to do it because you need the stats, don't you, with your gold lead in that sense.
So champions like Xayah can function without having a QSS, but the melee champions on the team, Rakan and Rek'Sai, they need to get QSS early for them to properly function, or they can't get into melee range of the enemy team because Skarner ults you, right? So on Rek'Sai and Rakan, it needs to come out right away. For Xayah, not really. So I think they needed it on Rek'Sai, Rakan early, but a lot of people built it, and that was the problem.
Yeah, I'm just trying to double check how many actually had it at the end here. Yeah, at the end of the game, they had everyone except Impact, because obviously he's playing Vladimir. Everyone except Impact bought QSS. So that is the whole point here is, by the way, that alone isn't why Team Liquid lost the game. They obviously made some key mistakes. Echo Fox made a couple of nice plays towards the end, but like that is one of those areas where like you didn't maximize your advantage. Like you could have definitely had a better edge there if you invested differently, right?
I mean, QSS matter, but also the thing you talked about, like Xmithty getting caught up by Rush multiple times, and then like he died during his ult a lot of times too, and he was so close to finishing off Rush, but Skarner OP into anything that's not Olaf, especially if you fight him right onto like that.
What did you actually think of Echo Fox though?
Solo is good. And Yasui is more impressive than I initially gave him credit for. So Jensen mentioned it, but Yasui and Jensen were both trying out to be C9 mid, and Jensen won out, and Jensen became C9 mid, and Yasui was lost in Challenger, just like nowhere, and then now he's like resurfacing. But Yasui better than I thought, Lost better than I thought, Solo definitely improved. Rush is still kind of meh. Yeah, I mean, those are like general overall thoughts.
Yeah, I would say a couple of the players play well. The problem is, I know since they got a win over the top ranked team, everyone's going to think I'm hating, but they didn't play that great in this game themselves, actually. Like they just still don't look like a very good team, to be fair. I assume they'll still be a bottom dweller, personally.
You know what's hilarious, though? Echo Fox could be running Lost and Phoenix together if they didn't fuck over Phoenix 1 year ago. Because they fucked over Phoenix, he didn't get his naturalization.
Ah, right, yes, and of course they signed him again, yeah. Oh, you're right, yeah, they basically, it's their own fault then, right?
Yeah, it's their own fault that Phoenix is not playing. Phoenix must feel fucking, like, furious. Like, you guys want to play your import AD because you guys don't think Apollo is good enough. And I get benched because I'm taking up the other import slot. Like, there's like a Hunger Game between Phoenix and Rush where that Hunger Game never has to happen in the first place if you just kept me on the roster the entire time last split. Like, so he must be fucking furious.
Sure, agreed. Right, what about, like, is there any, I know it's only one game, but is there any consequence to this to Team Liquid that disconcern you?
Yeah, I mean, there is a definite consequence. Perks tweets that Doublelift and talking about Proview and how he needs to work on his Xayah.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, but like, I mean, I guess I did say it on the Dodo episode as well, right? That is one thing. Even though Team Liquid made the finals, and even though it's, you know, great accomplishment for Doublelift, nice to see him break out internationally, I actually was a bit underwhelmed. Like, if you'd have told me before MSI, Team Liquid beats IG in a best of 5 and makes the final, I would have said, all right, I'm sure Doublelift's probably the MVP of the whole tournament, right? It's got to be, right? Their bot lane must have been incredible. I was actually super underwhelmed by his champion pool. Like, he never played Xayah a single time at MSI. He didn't play it in the playoffs at all. He only played it twice in spring. Like, this guy is not only one of the best AD carries, but normally when you're at his status, you're the guy who doesn't have the champion pool issues. Like, there's certain picks. The problem with Doublelift in 2019 is it feels like in 2019, he only goes for comfort. It has to be something he feels super comfortable. Whereas, you know, if you are like the best player, yeah, I'm certainly not saying pick something you're bad on, but sometimes because you're the best, you have to use your edges in the draft. You have to pick stuff that lets you definitely win the game or play into a weakness of the opponent or something. Because Xayah definitely was nothing to write home about whatsoever. I can see why he hasn't been playing it.
Yeah, I mean, TL overall has been all about comfort. Like, they don't really change their style. They're really good at what they are good at, though. They're very, like, good at their comfort style, but that's kind of their strength and weakness.
I actually feel like as well, dude, you look at this team, Team Liquid. Xayah Rakan should be an amazing set of picks for this team.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the Rakan ultimate for CoreJJ, you could see him doing so much with that. He's already so good with support ults anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Doublelift, the style that Team Liquid likes to play with all those team fights, if he can master that champion, that's the perfect champion to have. That champion wrecks you if it gets to like mid to late.
Mm-hmm. And also, CoreJJ has a Rakan skin, and Xayah is one of Doublelift's best champions.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Yikes.
That does make me wonder, though, if this goes into what Steve said, where he said that they were basically going to tell CoreJJ to change up some of his picks, change up his style a little bit, and not do, because the problem was, even though he's very good at it in spring, it was a bit restricted.
Steve says a lot, but ultimately it's on the coaching staff, and Steve does put pressure on the coaching staff, and I think they're going to stick with comfort because that's what's worked, and TL has so much to lose. And like CoreJJ has been this player for such a long time. He's been this way since Gen G. Like, he won Worlds playing like this, so I don't think he's going to switch up. I think expecting CoreJJ to be different is presumptuous from TL, and if they force CoreJJ into more uncomfortable picks, then I think it's going to be problematic. It's not like he can't play some of the aggressive supports. Like, he's a good All-Star. He is a good Rakan. It just didn't show this weekend, and he wasn't the greatest on it. Like, I don't think TL should switch it up too much. As much as we're going to criticize TL for being one-dimensional, it is their best style to play right now. So it is just live with it and deal with it.
And then what we'll do is, like I said, if you always go from top to bottom, it does make the end more boring. So we'll do a bit more free for all of this one. So how about this? Let's skip to a team that obviously didn't do well, but has big expectations, 100 Thieves.
Oh, ouch,
right?
Ouch.
A lot of the hopes that people had for 100 Thieves haven't shown up in the survey yet, I've got to say. Like, a lot of the things because like I said when we did that preview episode, there's, in isolation, there's plenty of good reasons they should get better. But the problem is that it feels like they need like 3 or 4 of those reasons to all come true if they actually want to be a relevant team. And at the moment, they still look like a bad team.
Mid lane. That is their big thing. Bang isn't, like, I feel like pulling his weight as an import. Like, Bang isn't an amazing AD carry import. And I think Bang's strength has always been in team fighting. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree with it. You also don't think Bang is as good as other people think he is. So,
mate, listen, I will say this. Here's what I'll say as a caveat, so this isn't too harsh. He is playing in a foreign country with players he has no connected history with and speaking in a second language. So I'll give him a break. Like, I'm not going to say, like, this was the Bang all along from SK Telecom. Like, that's a bit unfair because in SK Telecom, he was speaking with Koreans, he was in Korean culture, teammates that he'd been with for years. Like, he obviously played with Wolf for like half a decade or something, But that is one of the reasons why I always did think people overrated him in SK Telecom, is because basically he was like the Reckless of SK Telecom. Like, so in the same way as when Fnatic were a really great team, they always had a super duper top laner and mid laner. And then the idea was they can win games just off them. But if they don't, and it goes late, then Reckless gets a chance to carry the game. And sometimes he would. And as a result, fans, unfortunately, would be like, see, he's the best AD carry. It's like, but he doesn't really have to do that every game, though. Like, he can kind of just chill. So I always felt like that about Bang. Like, he had sick solo laners. Yes, if it got to a team fight and he had his champions, of course he could do damage. He's a very good player in team fights. The problem in 100 Thieves is I've almost never seen him in a position where his team was like even or ahead and in late game team fights. So you've never really given him a chance to do what he wants to do. And then also, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, right? In my heart of hearts, I actually do believe that if Afromu grinds and he really has the mindset that he wants to be a top player again, he can be. The problem is this. I don't know if he actually has the drive. Like, he just looks, everything about his demeanor just looks as though he's just chilling. He's just doing his job. He's coming in 9 to 5. Maybe he does a little bit of solo queue. I don't know if I feel like he really believes it's like life or death and he has to get back to the top again.
This is probably the toughest position Afro's been in throughout his career in terms of like how much weight he has to carry and how much of a rock he has to be for the team. So I think that's why we see Afro struggling a lot, and that's why we see him kind of checked out. If 100 Thieves can get something going, I have no doubt that Afro will be fine. Like, Afro is one of those evergreen players for me. Like, if they can get shit going, like, Afro will be fine. The big question is, will they be able to get shit going? Soligo, there's a big question mark for me. He's an academy mid laner, and dude, mid lane is just so fucking important. Like, I think the thing that things that 100 Thieves are asking from Soligo doesn't have in his tank right now, and he doesn't have the experience nor the skill level to do, and it's just so crucial that your mid lane is good and your mid lane can stand up.
Plus, I mean, again, if some of the best players in the world aren't even looking good on his ear, it seems pretty harsh that this guy's getting it in his first game in LCS for this split. Like, some of these picks, I think, are just like too much pressure to put on someone. Like in this game as well, they also drafted like they thought it was going to be like a late team fighting scenario, and they were never in this game. Like, in fact, actually, both games they had were pretty underwhelming when you consider the opposition they were playing. You know, it's not they were playing Team Liquid or something. Like, dude, I'm going to do this. It's not that I'm out on 100 Thieves. I'm just not going to be in until they actually show it in the server, you know. Like, I still think, you know, they've got the pieces. Some potential is there, but there's no reason to believe in it yet.
Yeah, draft is exponentially hard when you don't play everything. Like, right now, you have to deal with Sonateric, you have to deal with Yuumi, and then also, not just, like, all these flex picks. These flex picks, if you need to play them well on both players, and if you can play them well on both players, like, they actually become flex picks, not just power OP picks. So teams like TSM and or Team Liquid, where their solo laners have champion or let's go more C9 than TL. Teams like TSM and C9, where both solo laners have champion pool oceans or champion oceans instead of champion pool, like, draft is so easy for those teams compared to teams like 100 Thieves or teams like Optic, where you have one player that's inexperienced or a rookie and can't play all these flex picks, and draft becomes incredibly hard. So 100 Thieves have so much homework. I'm not sure if they are going to be able to do it. There are some levers they can pull, maybe putting back Ruin along with FakeGot, their academy top laner, maybe buying out an import mid lane or buying out on North American AD carry. There are some levers that they can still pull, but this summer is going to be incredibly hard for them.
I also think in this meta and with the lineup they have now, Soligo, obviously they've got this position where they brought in Amazing, right? I know that for whatever reason, stylistically, Someday doesn't want to be a carry player all the time. Like, here's the interesting thing about Someday for people who don't know, is he's actually very similar to how Odoamne in Europe used to be, in that because they spent so much of their career being the one who had to be a tank or a bruiser in those metas years ago, where you a top laner, that was you were doing. If you were on a team with skilled players in other lanes, that's the best thing you could do for your team, is you sacrifice, you play the tank or the bruiser, you do your job, you zone, and you just let the other guys carry, right? Because they were so good at it in that period. Later on in their careers, like Odoamne to some degree is getting over this. They've now realized, like, I'm still a very good player myself. Like, if the meta suits some top lane carries, why don't I play those? Like, I'm sure I could get competent on them. So the weird thing about it is, I'm absolutely sure if someday it might not like this, but with the lineup they have, I think they would just have a way better chance if they played some hard carry through the top lane. This guy could definitely do it. He's got the skills for it, for sure. If you've ever seen him play solo queue and he plays carries, the guy's really skilled.
They need to fix mid lane before they can, like, try to play around top lane instead of being more bot focused. But if Soligo can't stand up to LCS mid lanes, and Soligo and Amazing don't develop good jungle 2v2 synergy, like, that's just step one. Like, if they can't do step one, all the other solutions that you're trying to look for will not work. That just has to get solved for them to progress anyway.
I have to say as well, this counts for the whole league. From what we've seen the last 2 years in the franchising era of LCS, the off-season mentality for NA teams has to be the mid lane must be an import player. It has to be an import player or poor belter. Right now, or Bjergsen, who technically is an import. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, there just aren't any NA mids. Like, you've seen all the teams that tried the NA mids are the ones where they had an NA mid and then they went for, like, super top laner, like mega AD carry. Like, at the moment, just really good top lane, really good AD carry is a terrible combo to have your stars on. It just doesn't work in the game at the moment. I can't think of any team that is set up. Like, I'm trying to think of teams all the way around the world. I can't think of any where those are the best two players on the team. I don't think there is one. I don't think there's even one in Europe. I mean, maybe Fnatic, that's about the closest you could get, and even that's questionable. They're not even the best in their region. So, like, going to next season, I'm all for trying NA talent. And by the way, I've no doubt eventually there'll be someone who's like the Licorice of mid lane who comes through and is good. It's just, it's not these players, unfortunately. And to be fair, these players, if people are being honest, it's not like people pick these players because, oh, this guy's such a crazy talent, you've got to give him a try. They just did it, like you're saying, so I can get an import elsewhere, or, oh, he was okay in academy. It's like, you can't gamble like that when you consider that when you play an LCS, you've only got the year and you only get the 2 splits. Like, you've got to really make something happen. It's not like Counter-Strike where you play 20 tournaments, you know, and you change your roster. You're stuck with this roster. And so if you spent big money like Clutch Gaming did, well, not super big money, but you spent big money relative to some of the players, you just wasted that investment if you can't activate the player because the team's the wrong team for him. So I just think going to the next season, we've got to change our mentality if you're an NA team.
Chat said a good example for strong top and strong AD, which is Schalke, and they also didn't make playoffs because their mid and jungle were ass.
I mean, I'd agree that those are the two best players, but yes, exactly the reason. Yeah, they're another team that obviously wasn't as functional as they could have been because with those two players, you should have been a contender for the title, and as you said, didn't even make the playoffs. So, somewhat telling in that sense. Right? What about this then? Let's go on to another team. We'll do another like cheeky one before we go back into the top team. So, what about CLG? Obviously, they were debuting Ruin. We actually got to see him play. Vaguely carries. What did you think of CLG?
No more Darshan. I thought when I watched CLG, I was like, no more Darshan. Wiggly looks better. He doesn't seem like he's hemorrhaged by top lane. Ruin is not Darshan. Ruin can actually carry his own weight. Ruin is a good player. Ruin is a carry player. Like, Darshan used to be such a resource hog for them, and he would get nothing back. He would either take OP picks early, or he would either counter pick, and he would get a lot of jungle pressure. And Wiggly used to have a lot of top lane proximity, and he would not deliver anything. So Ruin is not Darshan. CLG no longer has Darshan. That is the biggest standout for me when I look at the CLG.
Yeah, because as I always reference, I know people do that thing where they think of the end of the split, they think of the placing, and in their brain they just think like, oh, they were always 8th place, or, you know, whatever position you finish in. But as we already pointed out in the past, CLG almost made the playoffs last split. You know, they would have been in Echo Fox's spot basically. Now, I imagine they'd probably have lost in the first round and gone straight out. But the point is, they weren't actually as bad as people were making out when they were memeing on them. Like, most of the memeing really was just on Darshan because he did look terrible. So I don't even think they were a terrible team in the spring split. They look like just a slightly better team now. Like, I can see some potential with Ruin. I will say the draft they did in that second game against TSM. Can you give me some thoughts on this? Like I'll tell people what the draft was basically. So they had Rumble for Ruin in the top lane, so not exactly going hard carry there, and he had to play against Jace. Wiggly took Rek'Sai. Power of Evil took one of his signatures, Orianna, and then the bot lane was Varus and Zyra. Zyra, rather.
Yeah, Zyra.
What do you think of playing Zyra in this matter?
So, coincidentally, TSM actually played Hecker and Sonateric into Ashe Zyra on TL finals, and TL got stomped. And CLG is a much worse team than TL. The whole point of Sonateric is you either try to demolish it early. That is the real counter to Sonateric. You demolish it early, or you play so cleanly, you take all 3 turrets extremely early, and then you match them in team fight because you're like 5k 6k gold ahead. They got a decent lead, but not enough of a lead. And then when Sona, Taric, Hecker, and Zillion gets going, when that Horsey gets all those buffs and charges into your Varus and Zyra with a bomb on top of his head, like, your bot laners can't survive, and that's exactly what happened.
Like, I thought they dealt with this game pretty bad because, as you say, like, when TSM does this draft, they're basically signaling what they want to do in the game. And see, if this was CLG thought was going to work, like, I'm not buying it really. To be fair, obviously I don't think they should beat TSM anyway. It's not really that reasonable. But in theory, they should have had a chance.
And they should have had a shot, but also I think they got smashed in draft. The way they approached draft was bad. A lot of NA teams are learning, oh, we can play versus Sonateric. Wait, we can't.
To be fair, most teams it looks like can't. I mean, SK Telecom and G2 couldn't. So, like, I think, again, this is why I wonder, did anyone in NA watch fucking MSI? Were you all just watching fucking reruns of Game of Thrones or something? What were you doing?
Chilling. Time to party. Off season.
Yeah, I forgot that. For NA, it is off season where it's international competition, isn't it? Like, and then are we the team that has to go? Fucking hell, where's my spring break? That's why, like, Doublelift and Jensen were afterwards. Oh, by the way, there's also, even though, by the way, it is legit to complain, like, you know, you have to go straight back to LCS like 2 weeks later or something. Even so, dude, you've never been that far in a tournament, and the one time you go, you're like, ah, bullshit, why do I have to go? It's like, well, you could have had 2 days off. You could have just got knocked out in the group, couldn't you? Like, you know, I get that. In isolation, it's a good point, but probably not the time necessarily to complain about that. What do you think, by the way, of, I saw an interesting comment, which was actually where they did that advert with Doublelift where he was like advertising Proview, and obviously he gave like a classic Doublelift, like hilarious take on it, which is, you know, he likes it because it's going to expose the ship players and hopefully they get replaced. By the way, as an interesting side point, this might seem weird because a lot of people won't know this, but that is actually what happened in Counter-Strike in the early days of the game, like 18 years ago. What happened was, in the first versions of Counter-Strike, you know when you die in the game and you have to wait for your teammates to finish the round, right? Nowadays, and ever since about like 2002 or something, you can obviously you just spectate your teammate, don't you? You watch through his eyes and you can see his screen. In fact, in Counter-Strike, it's even better than League because you can literally see his screen and you can see where he's aiming. Yeah, exactly. So you can get a sense of how good he is. Well, in the early days, they didn't have that feature. You couldn't actually see their POV. All you could see was like a third-person model. Yeah. And believe it or not, what Doublelift's saying is absolutely right. As soon as they brought out the version, I think it was like 1.5 or something, that allowed you to see through, 1.3, that allowed you to see through the teammates' like eyes. Yeah. Instantly, I'm not even joking, within 6 months, like loads of pros were gone because what their teammates found was like, holy shit, I thought this guy was good. Like, he's way worse than I think. And he's right, it actually did help. So even though I think, like, you know, it's a bit exaggerated that that's really going to happen in League that much, I'm sure they have a rough idea what their teammates are like anyway. They're literally in the game with them. There is some truth to that. Like, I think he's probably right. I think some players will get a bit exposed.
As a lover of Doublelift, I was like, LoL Esports has been fucking pumping out Doublelift content. It went from like Doublelift Expectation into Doublelift Proview. And then what was the third Doublelift video? Doublelift taking out the trash. Like, damn, Doublelift is kind of the face of LCS because for some reason Bjergsen has been such a quiet star in the last 2 years. I'm not sure why, but he just doesn't trash talk that much, interact with the community that much. He's just been much quieter. He used to be a lot more outward facing, but he's been more focused. It's not like his play dropped off, but he became a quieter superstar.
The problem is, as a person, like, here's the funny thing. I'll tell you right now. In his own way, as all really sick players are, by the way, he's certainly cocky. Don't worry. He definitely thinks he's very good. Like, I told this story in the past where I did a tweet, like, you know, a year ago where I said, like, you know, for every second in the last 2 years, Jensen was better than Bjergsen. And Bjergsen just did like the passive aggressive, like, as if to say, like, fuck you. So, like, you know, he definitely doesn't like shit like that. And by the way, as I say, if you're a top player, you shouldn't. Of course, you shouldn't think that guy's better than you. You fucking play all the time. You beat him many times. Of course, you think you're the best. But the problem is probably a factor, first of all, being on TSM and the fact that, like, people will react way more harshly if you criticize people. And then secondly, even though privately he has some of that in him, as an actual person, I don't think he actually likes to trash talk much. So unfortunately, I don't think you're ever going to see that side of him at this point. I think he's just going to be like the professional guy who does a little tiny bit of banter every now and then, and maybe in an interview he'll open up a little bit, but I don't think you're ever going to see, like, sadly, because it would obviously be a great way to create some like sick excitement, I don't think you'll see him trash talk Jensen. I don't think he'll say, Doublelift, I'm going to have more titles than you when I retire, even though it would definitely make the league more hype.
So back in 2014, 2015, when I was coaching Bjerg and Jensen's relationship wasn't the greatest. It was kind of rocky. And for both being Danish, like, they were not good friends at all. And then nowadays, they're really chill with each other. Like, Bjerg said he discussed matchups with Jensen when he was at MSI. So, like, they're perfectly chill. It is not, like, any kind of animosity. And, of course, Bjerg and Double don't have animosity. They used to be former teammates. Like, Bjerg doesn't really have animosity with pretty much anyone in the league. Like, he is not that kind of superstar. He is not like, I want to create beef. He just, I do my job, and I'm good at my job, and I am a good leader.
If you notice, the only people in League who really talk trash is either, like, you know, newer player who wants to get the attention of the big star, you know, and be like, hey, put me in the mix, or guy who is very good. I'll give you the analogies for these. Like, I'm not surprised that like Upset and Attila were the ones in EU trash talking, because they're good players, like up and coming players, but they haven't got to the top yet. So of course that's a way to get some excitement for yourself, create some beef. Secondly, there's the people who are the established stars, but people dislike them. So Forgiven's a great example. There's always going to be trash talk from Forgiven, even if he doesn't do it, just because since he's done it so much, other people feel like, you know, it's fair game. They can do it. And then the third type is people who just do it as a joke. And at this point, the interesting part about this, if you notice, is, first of all, Doublelift's been all three people, just at different times. And at the moment, he's kind of a mix of the last two. Because obviously people are going to trash talk him because he's trash talk. But I actually think most of his is it's kind of good-hearted, you know. He doesn't really like hard trash talk people much now. If he does, he also does it with that like grin that tells you it's just for the camera. And like, he's not really trash talking him fully.
Even when Double trashed Sven, I think that is probably the biggest animosity we have amongst like top tier players right now, Doublelift and Sven. I don't like, they're still good sportsmanship. Like, they still shook hands. Did you see that whole fucking drama on Reddit about
that was blown out of proportion for certain, yeah. Plus, what's this bullshit that you guys are saying out there? All you TSM haters saying that Sven isn't going around shaking hands. I saw him do that entire TL final. He was just, his hands were shaking the whole time. Everyone he saw, you see the joke I was doing there. Anyway, I have one last point to make, though, as an aside. Since you said that thing about Jensen and Bjergsen, like, you know, obviously fans would think they have the most heated rivalry ever, right? Because they're against each other directly. You know, one wants to be better than the other. But it doesn't surprise me at all, by the way, that behind the scenes, they're like chill. Because here's the thing people don't realize is when you are at that level and you are the man and you're competing against the other guy and whoever wins gets the championships and the glory and the rest of it, first of all, the only other person who actually knows what you're going through is the other guy. It's not all the fans. They don't know what it took to do that. Like, I always make this point. In great rivalries, I've noticed that by the end of the rivalry, most of them end up being friends. And that's exactly because of this. Like, first of all, this is a pretty cool angle. What happens is, say you're the guy who didn't win most of them. So Jensen obviously didn't win most of them in history, right? You actually are probably going to respect the other guy even more because you're like, I knew I was really fucking good. My team was good. I was playing at a high level. So if that guy actually beat me a bunch of times, it took a lot. Like, fans won't even realize how good he must be in that scenario. And then vice versa, the guy who won all the titles, this is a classic mistake fans make all the time. When they see, like, you know, Michael Jordan or some Floyd Mayweather, the guys who just seemingly win all the time, they think that to them, it's like, oh, I was always going to win. No, they know that. Even champions know that every championship is a struggle. Every single one, you start at the bottom, you go to the top again. There's no carryover, you know. Like, sometimes it's actually harder to win a later championship than it was to win your first one. So again, they also know, like, it took me so much to beat that rival that many times. So I think you'll always get, and hopefully, as long as they're not people who just hate each other as a person, you'll always get that shared respect, in my opinion. Because, like I say, a fan can't really appreciate like what that's really like behind the scenes, aside from the on camera.
It's a really common anime trope also, like Sasuke, Naruto, like Agumon, Garumon. Like, it's a very, very common trope in like
Pokemon, Digimon. I don't know fucking shit about anime. I do actually. What I do, if you've noticed, Loco, I'll let people behind the curtain. Obviously, I have watched some anime, but what I do is I pretend I don't. But then each time I give away just a little bit too much info that makes it clear I have actually watched the anime. But then I pretend like I don't watch that fucking weeb shit.
Oh, what's the driver one? What are the two race car drivers? Not
Racer X or whatever.
No, the
Speed Racer.
No, the two race car drivers. Not the one with not Talladega Nights. What is it? It's not an anime movie. It's about two drivers. Like, one is like really like a flashy driver. Like,
oh, actually, this is a relevant movie. I know what you mean. It's the movie Rush.
Niki Lauda and
it's called Rush.
Yeah, James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Like, I love that story, and I love like the two rivals like that.
Exactly, there's a perfect example of one, because again, they battle each other, but at the end, that's why they both have the ultimate respect. Like, remember that in a spoiler here, but there's an end scene where one of the coolest parts is what they both say to each other, like, you know, congrats world champion, because they both know that, like, that what it takes to accomplish that goal. And by the way, that's also very relevant, because I don't know if you know, but that guy Niki Lauda actually just died last week.
Oh, damn. Holy shit.
At this point, he's probably pretty old. I'm assuming he was like 70 at this point. You have to realize that movie was set in the 1970s. So he's pretty old. But yeah, that was a pretty... By the way, if you like rivalries as well, that's a good movie to watch for that, you know, because it's a back and forth rivalry, all that sort of shit. Right, let me think. What team so we were talking about...
TL, and TSM and TL, and I think we ranted. We went from like Fox to
100
TL.
Thieves, Echo Fox, TL, TSM, CLG. Right, we'll do Cloud9 now then. Okay. Why not? So Cloud9, the team that, even though they won these games, I've got to say, I don't understand Cloud9 as a team at all. I made this point before. It can actually be a curse to have too many strengths, because then you don't know what strength to pick. Whereas actually, sometimes having limited strengths means it's obvious. Like, if for example, if I had last year's Team Liquid lineup, of course I'm playing through Doublelift. He's the only like superstar carry player I've got. But the problem is, if I'm like Cloud9 now, and they think we've got a really even balance, we could play through any lane, we could play any stage of the game, we could play any picks. It can get easy to like 200 IQ outthink yourself. And so I think if you look at some of these games here, I'm absolutely baffled, Loco. I said it in our interview that we did on your channel. Like, if I was Cloud9 and I just watched MSI, yeah, you know what, we can do anything we want. But at the moment, since we can do anything, why don't we just play super strong solo laners? Why don't we make Licorice and Nisqy tell those guys, pick really strong picks. We'll play through your lanes. We'll smash the game early. But I still feel like they don't have that mindset at all. I don't think Reaper has that mindset. Licorice, I think personally, from looking at how he speaks and what they do in game, I think he's making the classic mistake of being too good a teammate and thinking he has to like, oh, I'll take the bad matchup, guys. Oh, I'll take an okay match. Like, no, you are the best player on your team. Take the strength points.
I think he played Aatrox and then he played Camille. He was playing carry champions and they were playing around them decent amount. I actually was
Nisqy doesn't, mate.
Yeah. I was impressed by Cloud9. One thing I was a little bit kind of disappointed by was Nisqy's performance. I thought Nisqy would step up more this split. It is very early in the split. They won both their games, but Nisqy was a little bit more mistake prone than I would like him to be. But I thought Cloud9, out of all the teams, if I had to pick a number one team for week 1, I would actually pick Cloud9.
Because in the spring split, I understand why Nisqy might play a little bit more conservative and just play for the team. It's his first ever split with Cloud9 replacing Jensen. There's a lot of pressure and you're on one of the best teams. That's over now, though. You've had your rookie split. Now show us everything you're capable of. Because that's the thing. If you notice, one of the discussions that was had around MSI is I actually think this current meta most validates the theory that Veteran has about skilled players, that he thinks actually in practice they should go for like as many ham players as they can and go as crazy as they can in solo queue, because he thinks what you should do is, if you're a really skilled player, find out how skilled you are, like push your limits to the boundaries, and that way if you are some guy like a Faker or the Shy, that's how you become like the absolute best. You're not just good, you're not like everyone's good and I'm just like a little bit better. You can become like way better. So in the similar fashion, like I agree. I think if you look at IG and look at GT, you can see some of these qualities in their star players. If you look at Cloud9, they are like the opposite of that. They are not going for any ham shit whatsoever.
I think Cloud9's strength relies in their team fighting and also their flexibility, and they showed a little bit of both. And I thought their drafts were incredibly smart this week. So for game 1, where they opened up a lot of the OP picks, and they're like, here, usually you guys only get 1 OP. See what happens when 4 OP picks are open. Which one are you guys going to pick? And FlyQuest was kind of confused. They were like, wait, what the fuck? So many OPs are open. This never happens in practice. What do we do? And C9 got the better of that. And in their second game, they just played Zonateric and Crush Clutch Gaming. So I thought both their drafts looked really good. The only thing I have to say to them is I want to see Nisqy develop a little bit more. But so far, like, I am impressed by Cloud9 and I want to see more.
Well, I mean, listen, they weren't playing like the best teams in the league. Like, these were 2 games they're supposed to win. I agree. They did just do what they needed to do and win. Problem is, I'm looking forward to when they play TSM, when they play Team Liquid. And like, this is a good level, but I want to see this team be the best in the league. I told you, they're the obvious team that has the potential to be the best. Like, you look at all the pieces, why not? I can't see a single weakness they have as a team.
I would say Nisqy's inexperience and bot lane's laning strength would be their 2 like weakness, but we'll see how that plays out. Like these are weakness that can be covered up. It's not like they're at 100 Thieves level of weakness.
No, of course not. Right, what about a team who is tied for the top of the league, Loco? Golden Guardians.
Okay. So for Golden Guardians, let's caveat this. They played FlyQuest, who just fucking sat there and died. They just literally fucking sat there and died. Who was their first win? I'm trying to remember. Echo Fox, who also blew apart internally. Golden Guardians are 2-0. Much credit to them. Actually, let's go game by game. Which one do you want to start with first?
Well, they played FlyQuest first, so we'll do that one if you want.
Did they play? I'm pretty sure they played them second, because FlyQuest played C9 first.
Oh, no, it's Echo Fox they played first. Yes,
they played Echo Fox first. One thing I was impressed by, I did not expect Golden Guardians to go double flex. I think they flex Irelia for Froggen. I'm trying to remember what Hunter played. Hunter either played Silas or Akali. I think it might have been Irelia Akali. But they picked 2 side laners. They picked 2 strong flexes.
We're doing the Fox game, right?
Yeah, the Fox game.
Yes, that was Silas was the top laner.
Okay, so they picked Silas, Irelia, and they played 1-3-1. This is what Froggen is supposed to be bad at.
Yeah.
This team is not supposed to be good at 1-3-1. This team is not supposed to be good about early game proactivity. And they were good in it, and they beat Fox with that strategy. That's what I was most fucking impressed by. They showed depth. They showed flexibility.
Sure.
They weren't just a Froggen teamfight team I thought they would be.
No, I would agree, especially because if you look at this team, like I still think some of their flaws will manifest, but they didn't really show in this game. The only player I thought fucked up in the games that I saw this week was Deftly. Actually, he had a few times where again he just got caught a bit too easy or didn't do that much in a skirmish. But yeah, if you look at the solo laners, both had a really good week. The picks they're playing is very encouraging. I mean, Frogger even got to play Nivea and fucking won it again, so very legit. He'll always have his champion pool, and then actually, both Contracts and Olleh, players who rightly came under criticism in the spring split, they both had some good moments. Like Contracts, as one of the best things about him as a player, I told you, might not always fit this team because in the past they didn't play proactive early, is that he is a proactive jungler. He tries to make plays, he tries to get around the map. The guy I actually was most impressed by, as in like I had low expectations and you exceeded, it's got to be Olleh. Like I thought his Tam Kench was pretty good this week. Actually, he had some pretty good key saves.
Okay, so for Olleh and Deftly, this is what I'll say. I knew they were good on Tompkins Ezreal. I knew they were good on Tompkins Varus. Other teams knew also because they were banning out Varus, and Tompkins got a nerf, so that's why other teams didn't contest it. This is what they were good on last split. They did fine on Tompkins Varus, Tompkins Ezreal. The problem was when Olleh was on different champions, when Deftly had to team fight with different champions. So they're still showing that they can play these champions from last split, but they didn't show improvement. They're just being good on the champions they were good on before. So I am happy for them, but I am not impressed until Deftly carries in team fight with a different champion, until Olleh has good showings on non-Tahm Kench. Like that's when I'll be impressed. If these two play Xayah Rakan and they can win lane and they can do well in team fight, like that's when I'll be like, holy shit, Golden Guardians are contenders. But right now they're just still being good on champions they were good on last split.
You can see though that the mentality of the team has changed. Unlike so many of these other teams we're talking about, they actually do seem like the problem they had last split was you can tell because it started so terribly, they were still fixing it until even like late in the split. So you remember when they had like, they turned it around, they were winning record. They tried a few games where they were trying to make early plays. The problem is they just didn't know how to close it out. Like they were only good at that mid to late game style. So I think this split's already promising that they've been way more proactive. Like you said, they actually were trying to properly side lane in this game. And of all the things, Froggen was playing Aurelia. Like it was available and he did pick it. If they really can do that this split and he can play the super strong mids that you can have that are really aggressive, then I still don't think with the lineup they have, I don't think they can win LCS, but they could be more dangerous. Like they could be a team that could give you a nice game in the semifinals and with the right opponent have a shot at winning.
They shocked me with the Aurelia pick and their execution of it. I want to see them shock me one more time with growth up Deftly and Olleh. Then we're seriously fucking talking about Golden Guardians. They're almost there, almost.
Shock me, baby, one more time. GGS. Right, what about, let me think, who would be fun to do next? We haven't got that many teams left.
Optic.
Let's see who we haven't done. Yeah, we haven't done Clutch, Optic. I think that's it. I think that might be the only teams we have left.
Oh.
Clutch and Optic. I guess we didn't really talk much about FlyQuest. We just talked about the game they played. So we'll do the three teams. So yeah, let's do Optic now then, because obviously a very similar fashion. Optic is 2-0, tied for top league, but they played 100 Thieves and they played Clutch Gaming. And to be fair,
those are
I think
the
a lot
worst
of people would say those might be the worst two teams in the league. Yeah. So to be fair, really what Optic did was maybe the third worst team in the league beat the first and second worst teams in the league. So with that in mind, what do you think of this Optic lineup?
I'm still confused by them. They're a very confusing team. They pick a teamfight comp and they round it out with TF. Why the fuck do you pick TF for a teamfight comp? What the fuck? The only two players that are really stand out on this team, I think, are Meteos and Crown. And Meteos and Crown just know how to win the game. Meteos carries the early game for them and Crown carries the mid game, and that's how this team functions. So I want to see them play versus stronger competition. Doka is still Doka, Arrow is still Arrow, Big is still Big. Like, just, I want to see more. Like, 1 week of 2-0 is not enough for me, especially versus Clutch and 100 Thieves. Let me see you play better teams and let me see you impress me. I am not impressed.
Plus, look at the picks that Crown got. Bearing in mind, I would agree he's the clear carry of this team. So he played TF in the first game and he played Vlad in the second game, right? Within certain contexts, obviously you can play Vlad mid. But like, I don't really know that this is a team that would ever make sense for them to play in that sense. Like, I don't think they play around him in that particular way. And he needs to be like a hard carry, as you saw last split. Like, last split, I think of the good games when you give him like Rise or something, he would just fucking pop off completely. I don't know what he's going to do on Vlad. And then secondly, of all the players to have a TF on who's a mid, you want it to be someone who's like a shot caller, who can fucking comm properly, who can set players up. Like, He can't do any of that shit in this Optic team, dude. He's just on his own. He's like Apto trying to play solo queue or something.
Yeah. He was flanking with TF. Like, his TF wasn't bad at all. It just seemed
it was
odd.
fine. It just doesn't make sense in the context of the team.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's the point I made. I could see another team doing these picks and it'd be fine for the mid, but on Optic, I have to say, I have a hard time with Optic because I don't think I can flame the coaches entirely because I don't think they've got much to work with. Like, I still think this Optic team, it's almost bad that they have the junglers and not the crown because actually, since they ended up being way better than they should be, on paper, this team probably should be the worst in the league. So I'll give them props that they aren't, but they're also nowhere near doing anything. Like, if they even made the playoffs, I'd say that's like a good fucking run. Like, I have no expectations for this squad. I just want to see the junglers and fucking crown pop off. It's the only thing I do when I watch an Optic game.
Dude, Dardog loves having attention, and Dardog loves like being able to show off his skills. It's probably driving him nuts now that there's Proview and he's not playing professionally at the moment, or he's playing for Academy. He even tweeted that, oh my god, all this Proview stuff makes me want to play on stage so badly. Like, oh, I can feel Dardog's frustration from my room.
Oh, well, put it this way, he's an obvious player where Proview would fucking help his career because remember, the problem he has as a player is, like, people know he's skilled who played against him and have seen him play overall, but they've obviously never watched his entire pathing around the whole game. And so the problem is, when they hear those bad stories, they're just weighing the bad stories against what memories they have of him playing. What do I really think of him? Whereas if you could go like you can now, and if you could watch like 10 POV VODs of just him jungling, well, then if he really is as good as he thinks he is, I think you'd have a fucking job, mate. You'd realize, holy shit, this guy's good. So I agree. This is the time to be in the fucking game, not on the bench. Like, this is, you can change your squad. So that's why actually, I guess the knock-on effect of Proview is, let's see for next year who stays on teams and who gets like the big contract you might not have. Because there's got to be some players who'll get the upgrade.
Yeah. Bro, Proview's been interesting. I love all the little things that come with it. Did you see Bjergsen? Like, he didn't type it in on chat, but he typed it on his, so people watching his can see. He's like, hey gamers, I hope you enjoy my POV. And then like Jensen and Rush BMing each other in all chat. Like, Proview has been so much fun. Sure.
And like I say, because I actually worked with the company who made that software called Snipe, and came from CSGO, I already knew, I'd already seen the feature basically before it came out, and I already knew it was going to be pretty sick. Because the thing people didn't realize, I think, about Proview is, like, it's not just to watch like a POV of a player. The whole point is you can like create the experience, you know. So you can still be watching like the main stream and your favorite player, or you can watch, you know, your favorite player and then another player on the other team. You can create the whole thing and then skip through it. Also, it's actually a pretty cool concept, and I definitely don't think it's like an unreasonable price. I mean, that price is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
that's very reasonable for like that level of tech that you get in.
So here's how I view it. So I think there's 3 tiers of LCS fans. So here's tier 1. You watch Riot broadcast time to time, and that's how you consume League of Legends, just purely through Riot broadcast. You're a casual fan. And then tier 2 would be more of an intense fan. You go on Reddit, you go on Twitter, you have accounts, you don't really post, but you read Reddit, you read Twitter, you watch team content, and you will buy some merch. And then tier 3 is like, you will write comments on Twitter, you will write comments on Reddit, you watch content creators like me and Thorin. Like, you are more of a hardcore fan. And I think for tier 2 and tier 1 fans, like, Proview is so fucking worth it if you are hardcore into it. Like, for the tier 3 fans that just watch Riot broadcast, like, it is not for you, and it's not meant to be for everyone.
No, exactly. The whole point is it is supposed to be like a premium auction. You know, if you want more, it's like the thing we said with the Patreon thing. If you just want the standard thing, just chill and do what you're doing. But if you want something extra, you have the option now. Because I have to say, that is the thing. Like, if you are a fan, and especially if you're a fan who wants to improve, that's a really good way to use it. Just get the player who plays your position. I'd even do it with all the teams, by the way. Do it with a bad player in LCS who plays your position, so you can see what mistakes they make, what they're missing. Then go watch the best player, see what he does, see what his little tricks and tips are, because that's always been the problem, isn't it? Like, when you watch an actual real VOD, you don't get any real sense of the laning phase because they're just going to the kills and the fights all the time. So for all you know, in top lane, there was some really subtle shit happening with the wave manipulation, but you'll never get to know because there wasn't a kill there. So they were always on the bot lane dive or something, weren't they?
I already know Ellis is going to fucking have a heyday with this. Like, he loves like little micro stuff, so he's going to love shit like this and flaming pro players.
Here's the thing though, people were right on Reddit, you know. All those people who were telling LS for years, like, oh, you're just exaggerating. You don't even need to use the F keys. Why are you just spamming around the map? And first of all, anyone who already knew what Korean junglers were like, knows that it's stupid to imply that that doesn't help. It definitely does. And then secondly, as people pointed out on Reddit, go watch Faker's Proview, mate. He's just all over the map all the time, especially because obviously, since he has mastered so many of the fundamentals, he even does it like between auto attacks. Like this guy knows exactly. Because the point is as well that people don't get is if you try doing what Faker does now, you'll think it's just spamming. Like he can't be controlling this. No, because the point is he's practiced it a lot. And so the key thing is when he flicks the view, his eye doesn't go, oh shit, I've got a new view. He knows instantly where to look. He looks at that spot and then he clicks back to where he's on and then he knows, right, the minion, hit. Right, now go to another lane. I'll look exactly at the fight I want to look at, quickly back again. The point is he isn't taking in the whole information. Like he's just like flashes. That's all he needs. And the context that I would give is, because in Counter-Strike, we have this problem where if you ever watch like a demo that someone recorded, it's really annoying if they keep looking at the scoreboard all the time because it's like, oh, it's so annoying, it's in my face. But that's the point. When they look at the scoreboard, because they know they're going to look at it, they're looking at one specific thing like, right, he's still alive. They're not looking at the whole thing like, oh, the whole scoreboard's up. Whereas when you're viewing it, that's the problem. You get surprised by it, don't you? You know what key they're pressing. So I think people have overblown that whole issue too much. Here's the thing. You don't have to do it. There's even top pros who don't do it. But the point is, if you can do it and you're a top pro, it will theoretically make you a little bit better. It'll give you more information. It'll help your decisions. It is worth doing if you can learn to do that skill.
So funny enough, I used F keys like even before LS was like playing League and being popular. Like I always be like, oh, why are you spamming top?
StarCraft,
like why are you playing F keys? Yeah. So in how it works in StarCraft is you can map out certain F keys. So you look at a certain part of the map and you do Control F1 and it will. And whenever you press F1, your screen will go to that part of the map. So you can make this left corner F1, you can make this right corner F2, you can make this corner F3, and then by pressing F1, F2, F3, like you can go to different parts of the map instantly. So it's something I picked up from StarCraft, something I picked up from Warcraft, and also spamming tab. It's like if you have an RTS background and you play MOBA, it is a natural skill that carries over.
Of course. Yeah, agreed. And like I said, it's not like you have to do it in League, but definitely don't make fun of people who do it because it does have value clearly. Like that was just one of those things where, like, I know it's popular to hate on LS, but that's not really a good reason to hate on him. There's plenty of better reasons.
I think people hated on him.
Hate game up
because he was like super intense about it, and he like preached F keys where
that's just LS. That's who he is as a person. He's not putting that on, is he? It's just who he is.
All right,
it's just his way.
We touched on Optic. What are the other teams you wanted to touch on?
There's FlyQuest and Clutch are the other two. So to do Clutch first, I guess, because actually FlyQuest is obviously some positives we could end on. What do you think about the Clutch gaming lineup where, for people who don't remember, Piglet has magically just disappeared from the lineup, Cody-san is in the lineup, and welcome to Clutch Gaming.
So DeMonte said a comment in his recent interview where he's like, for the first time in a long time again, since Challenger, this feels like my team. I feel like I'm a leader of this team. I feel like I get along with everybody on this team. And I mean, obviously, like a slight like knack at Piglet. Like now with that Piglet, this feels like my team. Vulcan also said similar things to me in an interview. I can work with my AD. Like we criticize each other. This is something I wasn't able to do last split, but all that's good. But where's the skill level of the team at? Like you guys can be 5 brothers, but you can't be 5 brothers that are like in the gutters. And that's kind of where Clutch is at right now.
Oh no! First of all, let's be real. If your team is bad and it's losing, you better go with the angle that, like, we all really like each other, though. We're all getting along and working really hard because what the fuck else have you got to show for yourself? And secondly, I've had this happen so many times, Loco. Like, I won't say which player it is, but there was a player who moved from a team within the last year or so. And even though you would think from the outside, oh, they must really miss him in that team, people in that team were telling me, like, I'm glad he's gone. He was fucking toxic. And I just said to them, like, yeah, but you were fucking winning when you had him. Like, your team is worse now. Like, who cares? Who cares how nice it is to play with someone while you lose? Like, that's the problem with that logic.
If you pick friendship over star players, you become CLG.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Is I would agree. If you have a team of good players who all get along, that's perfect. You probably got the best setup. But yeah, it's never a choice. Like, that's a terrible dichotomy. Like, if you told me, I'll give you 5 super nice guys, but they're all just average players, or you can have like 3 nice guys and 2 big assholes, but if they play well, you win the league. Of course, I'd take the second one. Especially because, by the way, as a coach, some of that's your job as a coach. You're not supposed to go, one of these players, they're not all super nice and just getting along with each other. What am I supposed to do? It's like, that was your job. You have to work with people, relationships, set up communication structures, sometimes literally tell someone, don't do this, please, or tell someone else, if he does that, ignore him. Like, I know it's a difficult scenario, but it's very, very rare, no matter what they say in interviews, that like many teams have 5 people who really actually like each other. Usually it's more just like, it's not that they don't like each other. It's that you only tend to complain if the guy's really bad. And I'm talking really bad. Like, you normally don't even complain if they're good and they're like a little bit annoying because you think, oh, well, he's the best player. You know, you give him like a leeway. So I have to say, as you said there, he didn't directly call out Piglet, but he basically indirectly just confirmed that like it's not fun to play with Piglet.
It's like the crazy hot scale.
And he's not good enough. That's the key thing. If he was the absolute best ADC, I think they'd forgive him.
It's the crazy hot scale. If you're this hot, you're allowed to be this crazy. If you're this hot, you're allowed to be this crazy.
You should absolutely do a video for your channel where if you want to make it really funny, dress like that guy in that video with the whiteboard. 'Cause it's like a legendary video everyone's seen, the one that he's referring to here, where it's crazy hot scale for women. Do one like that and do similar jokes. Because you know he had that thing like, this is the unicorn. I won't make the other jokes. Obviously, this might actually get on Twitch for ban, but he makes some pretty good jokes. Like, first of all, it's got some good points in it. Like, this is actually a good analogy for pro players as well. Obviously, you're right.
If you're this good,
crazy. If you're super
good,
if
you're this crazy, yeah.
And like I say, it even works the other way around. Because then people would be like, but what about Bjergsen? He's really good. It's like, listen, in his own way, he's a little bit crazy. Not a massive help, but he's a little bit crazy.
But here's the problem with most League players. They're always this crazy. They used to be this good, and they stop getting good.
Yes,
agreed. They become worse and worse. But the crazy stays the same. And sometimes the crazy gets worse. That's the problem.
That is Piglet's problem. Like, here's the thing. At his core, Piglet has the skill to be a good player still. But first of all, if you've watched him last split, his mindset is not at all within the way League of Legends is currently played as a team. And then secondly, it's not even an ADC meta. So the idea that he can demand resources doesn't make sense. And then thirdly, as you're saying, if all that concerned, you're not like the star player, you're not going to carry the whole game. Even if you're Piglet and you're like, but it worked for me in the past, that isn't going to work now. Like, if I was Piglet, the main thing he should put work in at the moment is probably just on mending relationships with teammates, because this is going to be his last chance. Who's going to pick him up after this? I don't think any NA team even is going to waste the time picking him up, even though, by the way, he's going to be a resident. So in theory, he should have an advantage. But unless you're like Optic or something, I don't even know why you'd bother trying. I can't think of many teams that will take him now.
I'm telling you, franchising took power away from toxic players. Teams no longer need to bend down to toxic players to not get relegated. Franchising took that power away.
Luckily, Clutch Gaming will be bending down for a lot of reasons and taking all kinds of shit, not just power. Clutch Gaming is terrible, mate. Like, here's the thing. The only 2 teams that are utterly hopeless are Clutch Gaming and Optic. Optic because they just don't have the players. Like, I don't blame them, actually. I blame players who play badly, sure, but I don't blame, like, the coach, for example. Like, once he's given those players, it's game over already. Clutch Gaming, I can't see any way this team can be good with the current players. At least even 100 Thieves, like we said, there's reasons they could get better. I don't know what could change for Clutch Gaming here. Like, I even feel like as well, like, they have the ultimate problem. Because when I saw their lineup made, I thought, right, clearly it has to be Huni and Piglet you're playing through here. And basically the idea is we've got these 2 like really egotistical solo carries. Obviously not technically a solo carry for Piglet, but he thinks that way in his mind. And we're going to play through them hard. At the moment, this is why I'm so underwhelmed by Huni. Huni, this is your meta, dude. This is what you've been dreaming of playing for years. This should be when you're showing
Pike Top was so
games.
bad. I think NA lost with every single Pike Top. I know FlyQuest lost with Pike Top, and Clutch also lost with Pike Top.
Okay, what you're saying is they were watching MSI. They were watching the wrong parts of MSI.
They took the.
What they don't seem to realize, Loco, is G2 themselves just barely made some of those Pike picks work. It's not like they were just like easily doing it. Like, they knew exactly their conditions. They knew what they had to have in the other lanes. They knew how to play through it. They knew how to play from behind. Like, I think that's one of the hardest picks to execute right now, Pike Top.
If you're going to play Pike, you have to roam around so much. And like, NA Pikes don't really roam and create opportunities. Like, when Viper was playing top, the game was 0-1 until like 16 minutes. Like, I don't think people understand the pick, or they're not executing it properly.
Right, let's do it then. Obviously, we've kept most of the flame out. So for FlyQuest, right, to be fair, they did play against Cloud9 and Golden Guardians. So, okay, obviously in the playoffs, they beat Golden Guardians. So on paper, you want to say, did I lag out there or something?
No. You're fine.
Oh, sorry, I thought I liked something. When they get obviously against Golden Guardians, it was pretty even over the whole split and in the playoffs, etc. So that was probably the one that on paper I was looking, could they win? When they play against Cloud9, like I expect Cloud9 to beat this team. Come on, man. Like the problem with FlyQuest, let's be real, Loco, is nothing's changed. Like it was good in the spring, and I still think they're going to be a good team now. But you even saw in these games, like if they get behind, they're just like, hope we can miraculously win a fight. We're not going to do anything different. Let's hope we can win a fight.
The game where they had Rides versus C9, like Rides was beating Silas, Rides was beating Aatrox and side lanes, and they kept opting into team fight versus the Aatrox Silas. I was so fucking confused. Just give up a few dragons and keep split pushing. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you letting the Aatrox, letting the Silas like do exactly what they want? And I was shocked.
The thing is, you can, even though you said that as like a rhetorical, you can kind of see why they did that though, Loco. Because even when they're behind and they go into an actual team fight, they're good in team fights. I can get why they think it's their strength. But you're right, in that scenario, you didn't need to. Like I remember what you're talking about, where like Paul Belter had like an outplay in mid lane at one point in time where he got a solo kill. Like they could have absolutely played this game in a very different fashion.
I'm a little shocked because FlyQuest is one of those. They have no problematic players. They have almost all NA players. They've been together for a while. Like they have great culture. Like they're very family oriented. And why are you underperforming? Like you're not the team I expect to be explosive, but you're not the team I expect to be underperforming or have a bad start. So I still have a lot of hope for FlyQuest for them to be a top of the middle of the pack. They will be the best team in the middle of the pack, but yeah, how they're starting out is really fucking weird. And
plus, the one good sign is, at least like you're saying, in that first game, they did actually draft the strong solo laners. Like they were willing to do it. Because that's one of the things I've said. I don't want it to be where, cause the narrative of Paul Belter is when he goes internationally, he's never been that good at mid. Doesn't mean in NA he can't play carries. Of course he can. He's one of the better mid lanes and probably always will be in the LCS. Like this guy's just a very competent pro. So bearing in mind his team and the current meta, I hope they keep some of these picks up. Like I hope they don't get discouraged by this game, because he looked good in that game within the context of the fact, as he said, they just team fought at the end. But aside from that, he'd actually looked legit on Rise.
Yeah. I mean, they have all the pieces. They actually have all 5 pieces. They just need to push it together.
That's the end. That's all 10.
Oh, there is some drama that I really wanted to talk to you about. Did you see DK? Do you know who DK editing is?
No.
Okay.
Who is that?
So I'll explain the drama. So, you know TF Blade, right?
Yes.
TF Blade is a huge streamer. He got rank 1 in NA. He got rank 1 in Europe. And he had a YouTube editor that he was constantly telling him, hey, I want daily uploads. Hey, can you edit more like this? Hey, can you... he basically had a lot of requests for his editor, and this editor kept flipping up. He wasn't doing things properly. He wasn't listening to TF Blade. And eventually, TF Blade let him go. And their deal was 100% YouTube revenue to the editor. The editor got 100% revenue. Can you talk about like how outrageous that is, or if it's common?
Right, first of all, I will say I don't actually know this drama, so I'm obviously going to, in this conversation, have to just trust that everything Loco told me was accurate and it was the right order. He didn't miss something out. So within the context, I can only go off what you've just told me now. Like the problem with that is, I've even known other players who've done that, actually, other streamers. But that was also in the very beginning of them having YouTube channels. Basically, it was the streamers where they just had a great Twitch channel, and then they used to let other people just take all the clips and make the highlights. And they realized eventually, like, this is stupid. Why am I doing that? Like, I could brand myself on YouTube. And so there have been deals where not many of them were 100%. Some were like, 90, and you just give me a little bit, because they were thinking of themselves, incentivize the editor to do a lot of work. As long as I get a little bit and I get some exposure, it's better than it just being a random guy who just steals the Twitch clip right and puts it on his channel. But I will say that is an incredibly generous offer. Like, this editor has really fucked up big time. First of all, he's never going to get a deal like that again. And secondly, he could have been getting 100% of a bunch of highlight players that would definitely get views on YouTube. Some of them would even get on Reddit. So this guy's thrown a lot of money down the drain. Quite frankly, I don't know what his life situation is. I don't know who he is, but I don't think he realizes what he's pissed away here. Like, that's an amazing deal. So if I'm TF Blade, I wouldn't even give that deal. I'd make it like 50-50 or something.
That's not even the end of it. So after all that, after he got dropped, he's starting to complain. He's like, I built this channel from 0 subscribers. Like, my editing made this channel what it is. Like,
were there a lot of videos on it generally, though?
No, like, there were videos, but the videos weren't that great.
Okay.
They weren't getting hits because the editing is so funny. They were getting hits because it's fucking TF Blade. And I watch TF Blade time to time. He's not an incredibly funny person. Like, TF Blade's main appeal is he's a fucking great top laner. He got rank 1 in both servers. Like, that's his major appeal. And it's so fucking simple. Like, just fucking focus on the gameplay. This guy is a fucking god tier player. He's getting rank 1 in both servers. So after he got dropped, he went out and he's like, yeah, like, this was not fair. Like, I'm not going to be able to make friends. And then this guy's like, whatever. At the end of the day, I gained 100 followers on Twitter, so it's worth it. And then he was like, you know, this is my content. I'm putting transformative edits on it. So he's like, even if I get let go, I can still take your content and put my transformative edits and make my own videos of you. So he basically felt like he owned TF Blade's content.
Oh, by the way, he's not wrong. He absolutely can do that. He can take the stream clip and obviously he could put the graphics on. He can do his own videos. What he hasn't figured out is this. First of all, like you said, that's so stupid because what he gains from it is very, very little. Like, he basically just gains the pleasure of complaining. Odds that everyone sides with him, very low. He's not the famous person in the scenario. He's obviously not a massive person himself. And secondly, the reason why that's extra dumb is if TF Blade really doesn't care about YouTube much and he was willing to do this, right, maybe he wouldn't even have been super motivated to get the next guy super fixed up. Maybe he's just like, oh, I'll get a guy eventually. If I was TF Blade now and you did that to me, I'd be like, okay, you can take my videos and you can do that. I'm going to get an amazing editor. I'm going to build my own channel up and we're just going to be the main place. So good luck competing with me. I'm TF Blade. Like, I can get more clips than you.
This guy was so fucking delusional. And then, like, people were coming out, like, slamming this guy, Mo, the Yasuo player. And also a random girl came out and then she's like, yeah, this guy also cheated on me. And he's a fucking shitty editor and he cheated on me. And he's friends with TF Blade's current editor or the new editor. And then he's like, yeah, even the new editor isn't even that great. Like, this
guy's fucking grandma came out. Oh, he stole a cookie from the cookie jar when he was 7. And I asked him, did he steal a cookie? He said no, but he had crumbs all over his shirt. Like, how bad is they gonna get to this guy?
He spent like 2 days like arguing and yelling and like fighting with everyone on Twitter. And then, like, I think it was yesterday, he's like, okay guys, maybe I took a L on this one. And then everyone's like, maybe you took an L. Maybe you took an L. Like, Dom tweeted at him afterwards. He's like, good luck with your TF Blade spin-off channel, dude.
This cunt took more of an L than a fucking Kikaku that was successfully executed.
Oh man, he
so
fucking
I did there with the anime reference I pretended not to know about.
He fucking killed his streaming or like editing career. Like, as a content creator, if I heard about this guy and then he like, I needed an editor and then he was one of the names, I'm like, fuck no.
I just can't believe this guy's day though. Like, you know, he like, first of all, he gets wrecked by all the streamers and his own. Then a girl comes out like, he cheated on me, you know. And then what happened at the end of the day was he just about to go to sleep and then someone called up like, you are the father. He's like, oh no! It's like his whole life's just ruined completely. I have to say though, by the way, yes, obviously 100% ad revenue was a ridiculous deal. Like, I don't know why anyone would really do that deal. Like I said, a person who's going to wants a lot, even if you just say 80-20, they're still getting a lot of the ad rev. That's going to be a great incentivizer to make them make the videos, which, by the way, I think is even like not a terrible deal if you really don't care about doing anything other than your Twitch. If you're really just literally letting him take the video and do everything, anything that gives him the edge, yeah, they'll incentivize the fuck out of a normal person. They'll want to do great videos. They'll want to make all those little... I actually find the video edits they do in like Doublelifts, for example, I think that guy does a great job.
Oh, nice try in. He's fucking good. He's fucking good.
Putting little funny bits in or putting a bit in where it shows that like connecting to something else. They do a great job with it. So there's definitely value to those sorts of video creators. It's just that like, yeah, the way this guy's handled it is really, really terrible. And he probably doesn't realize it, like you say, it was bad enough anyway, but now any other streamer's just going to stay clear of him. They're not going to hire this guy.
You had it easy. You were getting 100% of TF revenue. You got fired. You know what your next step is? Hey, I'm going to put this on my resume. I used to be TF Blade's editor. I grew his stream from I grew his channel from 0 to 200k subs. Like, this is on my resume. Like, TF Blade, I'm sorry it didn't work out between us, but thank you. And then you fucking move the fuck on and like, why fucking burn bridges?
There's another key point you made as well, is even though it doesn't seem like a traditional job where you need a reference, if your only claim to fame is I used to edit TF Blade's clips and you're approaching another streamer, the odds that they just go, hey, TF Blade, was this guy any good? And now, because you've actively fucked with him, here's the thing, he might have just said before, you know, he had some problems with me, but, you know, maybe he'll be okay with you. Now he's going to actively go, fuck this guy, no, he's terrible, and then you're never going to get the job, are you?
It's beyond stupid.
Some bullshit, isn't it?
Speaking of drama, and it kind of relates to one of the NALCS teams, do you know about the 100 Thieves Nick Merc drama?
Vaguely, like I know that basically he joined FaZe, right? And he used to be in 100 Thieves, and then he was in some sort of war of personalities with Nadeshot. But what I will say as a side topic, I'm not super up on a lot of the Call of Duty shit, but if you know Call of Duty, I've made this point in the past, I'll make it again because it's going to work here. So one of the things that I was very impressed by the Call of Duty scene was when I first came over to look at it, because I wasn't looking at the esports side, I just saw like, the YouTube channels and their branding. And I told you this famous line I once said to one of the owners of one of the big teams was like, how the fuck do your vlogs have like a fucking, like 1 million views, but then the actual World Championship final, one time I was watching it had like 100,000 viewers like live. I was like, how is it? And then what I realized was in Call of Duty, basically, yes, some people are fans for the players, but there are a lot of super casuals, people who probably barely even know what's happening in a pro game. They just play Call of Duty and they're a fan of FaZe or Optic or Envious, 100 Thieves, whoever it might be. And those fans basically watch just for the drama and entertainment. So as a result, people in Call of Duty, half of those vlogs are people. Basically, here's the funny thing, Loco. I actually think that the modern day crop of YouTubers like fucking Logan Paul and RiceGum, they've copied the actual approach of these Call of Duty people. Because what you do is this: if you have any beef or drama, you all make videos about it. So it's like if I was going to flame you, and I didn't do it on this show, I just made a video like Loco's full of shit, and then I wait, I let you make a response. He's lying, it's not even true. And then I make another one. Well, now that he said that, some of his point was, the key thing is at the end of it all, it doesn't matter who was right. It doesn't matter who the fans like. We all got views off it. We all fucking made money off it. They sort of realized the WWE angle. So the reason I'm setting this up is anytime I see like people leave an org and all that stuff, it's like, this is just kind of what they do in Call of Duty. They all just flame each other, don't they?
Well, it's a little different because Nick Merc and Nade used to be good friends. And then, so apparently, this is what Nick Merc said. He was promised 5% ownership of 100 Thieves from Nadeshot.
That's a lot.
He said he was promised 5% ownership, so he didn't take any salary. He didn't take any sponsorship. He didn't take
right. I see.
And then later on, when 100 Thieves got big, he came out and said he didn't get 5%. So he said stuff like, I'm never gonna talk to Nadeshot again. This guy is not my friend. If I'm sitting at I'll never sit at a table and eat with him again. Like these guys like used to be friends. So it's fun. It's crazy accusations. Like I'm not sure how true that is. Like if Nate ever said he will give 5% and like stuff like that, you need in writing. You honestly truly need in writing.
That is the key point there, Loco. Listen. I have a very paranoid approach anyway in life because I come from the early days of esports where sometimes you just didn't get paid and, someone lied to you and the company went bust, etc. So I have always, even to this day, had the philosophy, even if I've done a gig where I had a contract or a deal, until that money hits my account, I never think I've got the money yet. I always think that hasn't come yet, right? So even to this day, it's a useful strategy because as a result, mate, you'll never catch me like, buying something I can't actually afford because I don't get paid or being late for my rent. It'll never happen ever because I know how to survive in that sense. The problem is so many people are naive about how contracts work. Like the reason you need a contract is for yourself. It doesn't matter who it is, even if it's a friend of yours. I would even say, by the way, even if you work with a family member, still have a contract. Because the problem is, if you have no contract, then it's just like, well, I said this is true. I'm saying it's a lie. Well, if you'd had a contract, it'd be very easy to prove one way or another. So especially when, this is the reason why it's super dumb here. I'd understand if someone didn't get a contract for some small issue. Like say, for example, I'll give you an example. Say someone hired me to write one article just for their website at a one-off fee. Might not have a contract for that. Might just be a verbal agreement. I do the article, they send me the money. The point there is, even if they don't send me the money, I'm already out a couple $100. I'm not like super in debt or whatever. The reason why this is ridiculous is he was getting equity in a company which hopes to be a massive esports org. And if you've ever seen the Forbes article where they're evaluating all the esports orgs can be worth hundreds of millions. So basically, he wanted equity in a team that if someone sold it next year, might get him. His equity might literally be worth like fucking $100,000 or something crazy like that.
No,
so
it would be worth like close to like $1 million or even multiple millions.
Actually. Yeah, sorry, if it's 5%, yeah, obviously it'd be millions, right? So that's exactly why you need it, because anyone who's seen the movie The Social Network, there's the famous scene in it, right, where he doesn't give stocks to the Andrew Garfield character because he's trying to fuck him over, even though he was his friend and he set the company up, right? That has happened so many times in esports, Loco. It even did happen to me one time, but it was in the very early days of esports when nothing was on contract. Like I was a partner in a company and then I basically left the company. They didn't give me any of the profit after that. But to be fair, that was the Wild West days. Now it's unacceptable. It's like people always say. I saw actually Snoopy put this advice on Twitter. He had some like old document he'd written where he was going to give advice to players. Because remember, he was going to make like a player union years ago. And part of his advice was he said, as soon as you become a pro player, you should immediately get a lawyer to look at the contract. He said, even if it costs like $200 an hour, do it. Because like, obviously you could lose way more than $200. And secondly, get like a tax accountant to make sure you're 100% kosher. Like, these are the sorts of things that it's amazing that in 2019, people wouldn't have a contract for something. That's craziness. I have to say, even though if this guy's telling the truth, it sounds like he got fucked. He also helped himself get fucked. Like it's like he pulled his own pants down and bent it over, and then was like, "Oh, why am I being fucked?" It's like, we didn't exactly stop him, did you, mate? Like, you had a fucking target sign pointing in there. Like, what do you expect? Because remember, and this is why people fuck you like that, Loco. It's because since you don't have a contract, they only have to be a dick to you one time, and they make millions for doing it. So that incentive is going to be so huge, even if it's your friend. He just has to be a shit to you one time, and he makes the millions. It's not like you have to do it 100 times, is it?
I'm not sure how true it is, but those accusations like are fucking like it's wild. He said it on stream. He made a YouTube video about it. This is not something he said casually. Like this is something he's putting down on writing. Like I was promised 5%, and I never got my 5%.
I will say this as well. I've never met Nick Merckx. I don't know him at all, so I cannot comment on his character. But I have met Nadeshot, and I know him a little bit. I won't claim to know much, just a little bit. And I know some of the people who've been around him. That does actually, I've got to say, even though here's something interesting, like League fans might not know, is that during his time as an owner in 100 Thieves, Nadeshot has actually turned his personality around a lot. At the end of his time in Optic, he was actually thought to be like quite an arrogant person. He was one of the, when he was still an active player, he was way worse at the end as a player, as far as I know, than his name was, you know. So he was one of those people who people thought was like out of control, a bit of a diva. So I won't put it 100% past him that he did this. But if I had to personally guess what happened, this would be my guess. I would guess that when he got Nick Merckx, he told him something like, oh, you know, and then you'll be like a partner in the company, and, you know, we'll give you some equity. And then I bet it was like a half throwaway conversation. Like they were planning it, but they didn't like settle on anything. And it's like, you know, I don't know, you know, like 5% or something. Like, we'll figure it out later, dude. And then Nick Merckx was like, yeah, 5%. And then he thought like that was like 100% deal. Like, oh yeah, I've got 5%. And then when he came later, either, yes, Nadeshot's wrecked him and lied, like I never said 5%, or Nadeshot was like, oh yeah, I remember that. No, but I didn't mean like you literally get 5. You know, we never worked that deal out. Like we should have. You know, I'm sorry, but we never got a deal. You know, I would imagine there's probably a bit of truth on both sides if I had to guess. Just to guess.
Yeah, also this kind of drama you don't hear about nowadays because new orgs don't pop up. 100 Thieves have been incredibly successful in like the last year or so. Like name a new org that popped up in like the last year or so like that has this kind of success. None whatsoever. 100 Thieves is like the only org that popped up recently that is having this kind of like weight and this kind of success as an organization. So yeah, like this is a big lesson to everyone involved, and I also don't think it's just not going to happen. There's no other big organizations that are really going to pop up.
And also, even though we technically don't know if he does have a contract or not, I personally don't think he would be going public with this. I think he'd have just gone straight to a lawyer and said, let's get fucking suing this 100 Thieves team. I'm supposed to have 5% of their org. Like, you wouldn't just be dealing with that in public only, even though, as I said, that is very much in keeping with Call of Duty. In fact, as you've seen, that's one of the things that actually might get FaZe in even more trouble. The people like Banks were just openly commenting on all the legal issues. Like, that's such a bad move. In that scenario, whether you're right or wrong, everything you say, remember, could now be used in a court. Like if they can show a tweet even that you fucked up and said the wrong thing, that will be used against you. So generally, unless like in this scenario, that's why I'm guessing personally he doesn't have the contract. I think he's trying to put public pressure on Nadeshot that if they ever did have a conversation, like do right by me, because it's not the route to go through if you really want to get the money.
Yeah, the Banks thing is another thing, but holy fuck, if you're an owner, please don't fucking like tweet about stuff like that and put pressure on players and put pressure from like the community. Like what the fuck? Like I understand it's about being raw, it's about showing like the real side, but as an owner, you have a responsibility like beyond just yourself. Like you have a responsibility to FaZe and all the players that work under you and your family and everyone like you have on your payroll to like represent your company in a certain way. And if that's how you choose to represent the company, fine, but you're doing damage to everyone that's working for you and that's around you, and you have to have more responsibility. That's where people say like, oh, like boys only become men when they have kids and they have to start being responsible for like other people in their life. Like, dude, as a fucking org owner, you're responsible for so many fucking people, and it's just so fucking irresponsible to tweet like that in such a big legal manner.
Is that what we need to wait for you? You have to have kids. Is that what's going to fix everything for you?
If I have kids, if I get a serious girlfriend, maybe I'll settle down more. I think that's a big benchmark for me.
All right.
All right.
On that note, just end the episode.
All right.
Right? Oh yeah, remember Patreon.
All right. listenloco.com/Patreon. Don't forget. All right.
Wait a minute. Is it really? You've got a website called Listen Loco?
Oh no, patreon.com/listenloco.
Fuck, I've actually said that. That website doesn't exist. There is no Listen Loco.
Patreon.com/listenloco.
Yes, exactly. That's right. A real website that actually exists.
Okay.
On that note, goodbye.
Later.